Hello everyone, my name is Anqi Wu. Welcome to Taiwan is my home. Have you ever encountered those times when you couldn't catch up with change, when your plans were turned over? The couple from our first story encountered a change that left them dumbstruck. They are a couple, a partnership between a Taiwanese husband and a Sichuan wife. Their plan was to work, marry, and have children, and everything was going smoothly until the financial crisis left the couple without a job. Thankfully, this crisis came with way out. There was a fellow Sichuan brother who came to Taiwan before Sichuan wife. He led the married couple to start new in the restaurant business. Although they became independent later in life, they did not slack on any necessary hard work. And now they're in Taipei's East District, the toughest battleground for cuisines, and they've created their own small kingdom. With the small store only 2 meters wide, there still were many tasks to complete before business hours. Husband Jian Hongli prepared outside, while wife Hua Yupeng did in the kitchen. I'm making jelly right now. You make that yourself? Yes. Here we create everything from scratch. If we buy ready-to-go food, the tastes aren't the same as they are in Sichuan, because they are harder, and we make them softer and more tender. Hua Yupeng was a Sichuan lady. Actually, she comes from Yibing from the south of Sichuan, and her husband is a second generation of Zhejiang from Pingtung, bringing authentic Taiwanese food. Sichuan cuisines has plenty of local cuisines, including chef's special, noodles, all include peanuts. And we choose packed peanuts for their larger size, easy filling, and when crispy, they smell amazing. Crispy peanuts, better known as fried peanuts, are done slowly with small fires. Because when frying them, they burn easily, and if the oil isn't hot enough, the smell is diminished. This isn't just the case with peanuts. Peng brought out another pot of chili, which are the soul of Sichuan food. Of course, she cooks them herself. It's not just storing oil with the chili and throwing things together, it takes a lot of control. You need it to boil, yet you don't want, in some words, jump too quickly or else it burns quickly. Doesn't it sting to keep looking at it? Don't you cry? Yeah, and have to keep stirring. It's quite hard work. Well, that's cooking. That's one way to put it. But actually, the two husband and wife weren't originally cooks. They were average working class for over 10 years. Because when we first met, we were only 21. That was 15 years ago. Both of them were busy looking for jobs. In the early 90s, Taiwanese men in China were considered ideal wealthy partners. Lee explains it was the exact opposite. Back then, he was a poor boy with nothing rather than Peng's family had more wealth. To be honest, I was quite touched. We talked about marriage, she said to get married, and later her parents had no objections. They said, do it, money isn't a problem, just work harder in the future. That year in Yibing, Peng's parents held a lively and cheery wedding. My parents treat him well because he is quite trustworthy, he's quite the person he is. And because my temper isn't that great, to me, it's quite out. Peng says she was quite lucky. After marriage, they came to Taiwan, and since they had kids very soon, they lessened the legal burden they'd have to deal with. They thought that they could work in an electronics company and live a stable life, but the financial crisis caused both their companies to crash and close down. Something as sudden as this is really tough and hard to accept. We relied on Big Brother and Aunt, who kept comforting us and encouraging us. He said as long as we work hard, we won't starve. Big Brother is a fellow Yibing villager who also started a restaurant. He passed down recipes to them one after another. After all, we were quite old already. If we didn't try hard this time, we wouldn't have another chance. I tend to be more determined no matter what. I know she's very exhausted, tired every day, but I just said I'd help her however possible. And also that we take our business of selling snacks and hope for it slowly to grow. It really grew. All the cooking on the kitchen stoves are quite the sight. So each pot we have is for different kinds of noodles. We have probably 7 types. 7 noodles, 7 pots. Yes, each broth is different. There's the spicy kick of Sichuan beef soup, non-spicy bamboo chicken broth, tomato meatball soup, All the soup boiling next to each other is very eye-catching. I used to weigh over 80 kilograms, but after this work, especially during summer, all the sweat removed all my excess fat. How much do you lose? I lost about 10 kilograms. Lee also has his own Sichuan marinated pot. From opening till now, the taste has grown richer. Some of our regular customers can really taste that our dishes are handmade and not bought, including a lot of our things. So sometimes, well, you have to stick to your beliefs for yourself and also to others. Things like this give you a good feeling inside. Although it's tiring, the two with the same mindset started a new late in life, one step at a time. What I'm making now is the flour for our steamed pork. We use Taiwanese white rice to substitute flour. You also make this yourself? Yes, I make it myself. Why? Because other ones are too heavy. Once the flour was ready and mixed with the meat, it has to sit for a day. After a day, it looks redder, and after it's steamed, you can tell the difference. It's not that spicy, it's the chili we use. Just like my wife says, some are really spicy, some are just color, and some brings the flavor. Pang emphasizes Sichuan flavor isn't all about being spicy. The food that we make has flavor with a bit of spice. Actually, our chili is alright, but we don't add it in, because if we add it for them and it's too spicy, you can really taste the dynamic of flavors. In Yibin, we like to use green chili peppers because it has more flavor than red chili peppers and the spiciness is about the same. It really is a whiff of flavor and smell. What's interesting is, just like how themselves match, they realize Taiwanese and Sichuan ingredients also match well, just like the peanuts and the sweet potato Pang skinny. The steamed pork has it. It's not bad, because Taiwanese sweet potatoes are quite sweet. To Pang, who married from so far away, Taiwanese life is bittersweet, but she keeps it to herself, even away from her mother. I only speak about the good stuff. I don't tell her, not even a bit about the bitter work, as long as she doesn't see. Good thing Pang's mother was right about Lee as a helper. Whatever his wife says, he does. The tough work should be mine, like chopping the pork meat. It's necessary. That's how it should be. Until one day if we switch, once I learn it. But even after that, my wife would still probably stay in the kitchen. She gets nervous. You can hear from her voice. But as the orders keep coming, it's probably stressful in the kitchen too. The noodles are made one bowl after another, never ending. 'Cause in Taiwan, your bowls are very large. Yeah, but we use smaller ones so you can try out more flavors. Yeah, the special about Yibing is small bowls. Before we started, we were thinking about how we should size our bowls. In the end, we decided to stick with Yibing tradition of using small bowls. There's one taste you can't miss, the specialty ran noodles. The sprinkled peanuts were all hand-fried, hand-crushed with the chili peppers. Don't underestimate the color. After 2 or 3 bites, it can make your mouth numb as ever. The sign with the Sichuan ran noodle is very attracting, so I thought I'd check it out. And your thoughts? From the first bite, I thought it was great. It's that, 'cause there are chili peppers, so it has the numbness and flavor to it. So which one is your favorite? My favorite is the ran noodles, and the spicy chicken dices as well. Dried chili stirred with small chicken dices smells of great spice. There's also the very interestingly named drooling chicken. It's a different kind of spicy. This drooling chicken uses a lot of special sauce. When she made the sauce, she spent more time on it. Eating it makes you drool and crave for more, hence the name. Oh, really good. Awesome. Very authentic. You can't eat spicy? No, I just have really well-developed sweat glands. I can tolerate spice. It's my sweat glands. Do you like to eat spicy? Yes, I do. How does the spice compare to others? It's very authentic Sichuan spice. It really is. Most spices only have the pain, but not the flavor. This one does though. Looks like the restaurant has made its name. During meal times, there are about 20 seats. Whenever one table leaves, another one enters. Some even come to the city just to eat here. They come from Keelung, Taoyuan, Hsinchu, not even to eat much, just maybe a cold noodle for 45 NT, just here for the cold noodles. But he says this cold noodles is really full of flavor. When there was a man from Neihu area, he even called to ask how to take a bus here. It didn't matter how much he ordered. He only had a cold noodles, but after he finished, he said, "Hey boss, you got to tell your wife this really brings you back to village." With the support from customers, the little shop persisted their high standards for themselves. It's not as nerve-wracking as before, and we don't worry that much. We just work hard step by step to improve. I also just hope that the two of us get better and better, and to make our lives improve as well. Is there anything you'd like to say to your wife? No need to say anything. Every Valentine's Day, I give her roses. There's no need to wait for Valentine's. Back in the little kitchen, we always get to the dishes first. A marriage between two people from so far away gives their world a rush of romance. For sure, through the skilled hands of this couple, we saw how chili isn't all about the spice. It can bring taste and numbness and so on. Just like life doesn't only have one kind of sweetness to it, but there's a genuine one. Just like life's ultimate principles shouldn't change. The next story's main character fought and trained hard in Taiwan to stick to these principles. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Taiwan is my home. These years, Japanese ramen noodles have become very popular in Taiwan. Soy sauce, miso, bonito flavors, thick noodles, thin noodles. There's a lot of science to it. Next, we have Mr. King, who came to Taiwan from Japan. In regards to the ramen noodles found in Taiwan, he isn't completely satisfied. He feels that his hometown's pork ramen noodles cannot be compared with the noodles he's seen in Taiwan. Also, that he finds most troublesome is that ramen noodles in Japan are way too expensive. Mr. King says this goes against the spirit of this national Japanese cuisine. Next, we'll see how Mr. King portrayed his expectations for ramen noodles in a traditional Taiwanese market. The young chef calling out numbers is the owner. Mr. King from Japan, Kaneko-san, just opened the shop at noon and already has a crowd ordering. What everyone is fighting for are the milky white, rich-flavored pork ramen noodles. I came here 3 times before I got to eat the noodles. The first time I arrived at 12:15 and there were no more orders available anymore. The owner only sells 100 bowls a day. He prepares 60 for lunchtime and they sell it within 15 minutes. Those who make it leave with a huge smile while others leave disappointed. No more pork broth today. No more. Sold out. But we came from Keelung. Just for this? Yes. Many know that the greatest respect to the chef is to completely finish the broth. The broth is the soul of ramen. The owner's self-designed t-shirt said his goal is to enter everyone's soul with one bowl. But to win the customer's hearts with the broth takes much effort. First comes choosing the ingredients. Boss, tomorrow I need 8 or 9. What he's ordering is the ingredients for the broth. Japanese chefs use the skull a lot because it tastes delicious. Pork ramen noodles originate from Kyushu, Hakata, but Haneko-san comes from Saitama. His original profession also wasn't a chef, but a clerk at a logistics company. He says while he was a 9 to 5 clock worker, he had a dream inside his heart to be just like his respected father and become a successful businessman. He thought that he should chase it while still young and quit his job to find some direction for his life. Actually, I didn't like to eat ramen noodles. It was then, after this one bowl of ramen, I was very touched by it because of its taste, and it was really good. It won my heart. I then grew fond of ramen noodles. One bowl of ramen changed his life. Haneko-san told himself he also wanted to make dishes that could touch people's heart. Cooking ramen noodles became his new life goal. First, he entered a school to learn how to cook ramen and started from the basics. He learned that, but still had to experiment and find something unique since pork ramen had hundreds of flavors. Placing the pork bones that are the stars of this dish that he cooled from the day before into the pot, and then adding the water, we realized he had an odd little movement. Just like that, he placed the chopsticks to the side, and he was a bit shy after we found out. Because sometimes I forget how many cups I add. This means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Never be too confident, and sometimes you need things like this. This is his way of reminding himself. He persists on many small details like metal can harm the pan, so he brought his own wooden ladle from Japan. Through rigorous stirring, he lets any dirt float up and then filters it. To boil out the richness of pork takes at least 10 hours. One broth is the equivalent of 300 grams of pork. Bones release some colloids that bring the stickiness of pig knuckles out. To keep the pork flavor, he also must remove the fishiness and add secret ingredients. His broth is extremely delicious, very rich. But when he first opened, customers were a bit scared of his authentic Japanese flavors. Now Kaneko-san has to add this to his homework. The tender creaminess texture is all brought with the succulent pig oil that he so carefully picked out. Because when I first opened, I used this oil, but people don't like it. They didn't drink the broth. They just left it sitting there. So I took them all out. I took out the oil. So now my broth isn't as oily, and now everyone can finish the broth. This hurt the newly opened owner a lot. He says after he closed every day, he would sit in front of the trash bin and see how much of the trash was his. Seeing so much broth being dumped, he became troubled about what was wrong with his soup. After much thinking, he started to remove the oil bit by bit. Eventually, he found a taste that suited Taiwanese likings. But he also says if anyone especially likes the heavy Japanese flavor, as long as they tell him, he can also prepare it. And the one thing that fits best with pork ramen noodles is the tender and rich marinated pork meat. The shape is very important. With strings wrapped around it to lock the flavor into the meat, first place it into the broth to boil for 2 hours and then put it into the sauce to marinate for half an hour. After slicing it, the meat is marinated uniformly and the fatness is just right. Stir it till it's tender soft and put it in the broth to heat. The meat disperses with a light touch of the chopsticks. Apart from the marinated pork, the golden egg is also a popular item. It's tiny, but the process is complicated. First, he pokes a hole at the bottom of the egg to make it easier to remove the shell when time comes. He lightly places the egg in hot water and gently stirs it for 30 seconds. Otherwise, the yolk goes to the side of the egg, but if you stir it, it stays in the middle. What he means is he wants the egg to look pretty when sliced. After removing the shell, you can feel the chewy, flexible texture. With a simple pull of a string, the soft profile of the egg is very appealing. From each component of the broth, no matter how complicated the process, Kaneko-san finishes it himself. He follows each step properly because if he doesn't, he feels that customers will know. When I first arrived, I didn't like the taste of Taiwanese food. For example, my friends took me to a shabu-shabu hot pot, and there was this sauce, the peanut beef sauce. Well, I think was, really awful. I really didn't like it. But after I ate it a lot, I got used to it. So now I can eat most of the Taiwanese dishes, and I actually like it. So now I'm half Japanese and half Taiwanese. 1 tuna, 1 chocolate, and a cup of cold coffee. Back then, in order to save up funds to open a store, he only allowed himself to spend 200 NT a day. That's when he realized ramen noodles in Taiwan are way too expensive. It motivated him to create moderately priced noodles. In Japan, ramen is a national cuisine. And in Japan, ramen noodle shops are seen the most. So, ramen is for your everyday civilian to eat. But in Taiwan, it's something that's a bit superior. So I wanted to change. I wanted to change it into a very normal and common dish here, like beef noodles and like pork rice. I wanted to let Taiwanese people be able to have delicious yet cheap ramen noodles. To decrease the costs, he bought shelled beans. Even if it meant more work for him, he wanted to stick to his ideals. His noodles have 3 price ranges, 79, 99, and 119. There are many choices to the type of noodles, all very customized. This one, iron wire. Okay, iron wire. This one is harder. Thank you. The hardest type of noodle is called iron wire. His noodles are bought from a Taiwanese owner who once made noodles in Japan. When customers order, they can also enjoy visuals of him beating the flour like you see in Japanese shows. Kaneko-san, who loves baseball, has a lot of arm strength. With his huge movements, customers kid and say that he looks like he's hitting cockroaches. Just from the noodles, you can see many details. The different toughness of the noodles require different timers. If he cooks 4 bundles of noodles, he will also beat them 4 times separately. In order to maintain the pure taste of both, he makes sure to completely beat all water off the noodles. After arranging the noodles, he carefully adds the toppings and cleans up around it. His persistence made his business got better and better. Customers would tell me it was delicious and even thank me. At that time, I felt lucky. Ramen changed my life, and because many people like my ramen noodles, so if it's possible, I would like to open more shops. For example, in Taichung, Kaohsiung, Taoyuan, or Taidong, Hualien, the whole Taiwan, or even affiliations. Working in a foreign country, his hopes were big. The down-to-earth Kaneko-san worked 14 hours every day. He'd only eat bread for breakfast and lunch, and put all his energy into ramen. Each bowl is a proud accomplishment. Ramen in his hands are delicately created art pieces. Food is just a way to express himself. Those images probably made many ramen lovers drool. Because of popularity and Mr. King's needs of having more space, he turned his small corner into a full store. But he switched destinations to Tainan and shared a piece of his heart and soul with each bowl. Today spotlights all cooked noodles, and their every bowl displays every detail and dedication they invested in it for you to see. See you next time.